You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. All right, so LSU had its final full-scale scrimmage of spring this past Saturday. They were in Tiger Stadium. And, that, of course, the spring game will be this coming Saturday. But they were joined by a familiar face, as Nick Storz has been re-added to the roster. This is so interesting. If you don't remember, like, the quick catch-up is Nick Storz came to LSU as a highly touted baseball prospect. And he just battled one injury after another during his baseball career and ultimately left the baseball team and joined the football team. He was a pretty good pass-catching tight end as a football player in high school. So he joined the LSU football team and played in 10 games. He got on the field in 10 games during the 2020 season. Of course, they played 10 games. It was the COVID year. So Storz gets out there and plays 10 games during the 2020 season and thought he might have a bigger role in 2021, but he never got medically cleared. So ultimately, he ended up medically retiring. So his career was over. He had medically retired. And when you medically retire, you can still remain in school on scholarship and all that stuff. You just don't count against the 85 scholarship limit. And now Storz is back. I guess whatever medically ailed him has been healed. I'm halfway kidding. I don't want to joke about something like that, but look, I want to be very clear, like very, very clear. Nobody should be listening to this or watching this today thinking, man, this is going to be a great story. Nick Storz is coming in and he's going to be an All-American and he's going to be our answer at tight end. You need to not be thinking that today. You don't even need to be thinking about the possibility of Nick Storz starting at tight end. Like, that's not going to be what his role is here. It can't be what his role is here. I mean, you're talking about a guy that showed up as a baseball player, hadn't played football in 3 years, played a year of football, medically retired. He's been out of football for a year. Now he's back. Like, that's just not the makings of an All-America caliber player, even a starting caliber player in the SEC. But Storz is a big guy. I mean, he's 6'6", and he's a big body. And what this team needs when it comes to tight end help is a prototypical tight end body. Before spring practice started, when Brian Kelly was doing his spring practice primer, I asked him the question about remaining positions of need on this roster going into spring, where they felt they still needed help. Listen to what he said.
I think our depth situation at tight end is a concern of mine. I think that's an area that we need to continue to build on, and not sure that it's a quick fix. I think it's something that we're still going to have to look at. And there may be some people that are on our roster that might have to change positions and play that position. We're going to have to address it one way or the other. So it's still a concern.
So
there might be.
He went on to say offensive line is, they're not done there either. But he went to he told you point blank. The first thing out of his mouth was tight end. There might be people on the roster who switch positions. We're not sure how we're going to address it, but they needed to address their depth and numbers there. And that's what this is. Because coming into spring, your only tight ends were Cole Taylor, who is 6'7" and is really best known for having his shoe thrown, and Jack Mashburn, who played quarterback in high school, walked on at LSU, and they converted him to play tight end last year because the previous staff was so woefully inept at recruiting and managing the roster, they had to use a high school quarterback who walked on to be the starting tight end. Your numbers were terrible. Now you got Mason Taylor coming in, but are you really going to count on a true freshman coming on the field? Either way, you need bodies. Either way, you need depth at that position. This adds depth at that position. Adding Nick Storz, a guy who has been on the field, and if he's healthy enough to roll, then let him roll. But you got to manage your expectations of what they are. Really, If I were to have one really big takeaway, though, from this Nick Storz news, when they came into spring, Brian Kelly said tight end, offensive line were the two areas they still need to address. In that cut we just played, I didn't let you hear the part about the offensive line because that's not what we're talking about here. But that's what he said. He said tight end, and he said we're not done on the offensive line. Okay. Going through spring, I think it's pretty clearly been identified that cornerback is a problem as well. It's a very real issue. And you only have 2 initial 25s remaining. So, I mean, you can only sign, like if you wanted to take a transfer, you can only take 2 more. That's it. Because you've taken Jaden Daniels, which of course you're going to take a guy that's started 30 games at quarterback. But you only have 2 spots left. So, do you want to take a tight end? Do you want to take an offensive lineman? Do you want to look for a cornerback? You just lost Corey Kiner. Are you looking running back? Probably not. But what do you feel like you most need to address at this point? And it might be that if you can get a starting caliber cornerback, that's a greater need than tight end. Because the way this LSU offense may be structured is that you just don't use tight end. If you need an extra blocker, put it, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but go the Les Miles route. Put an extra tackle in as a tight end. I mean, or what the Saints have done for all these years with their tackle eligible. I mean, that's basically what been Will Clapp's role during his NFL career. Like, there are ways around it. If you need an extra blocker, you can find help getting an extra blocker. If you want another pass catcher on the field, put another receiver on the field. Jack Best, Brian Thomas. I mean, you have big-bodied receivers who can play that role for you. Not as an attached tight end that's going to block and do all that stuff, but that can be a flexed-out pass catcher in the slot. I really think that adding Nick Storz is a luxury of having a body who's played at this level that can give you depth at a position where you're very, very thin, and it allows you the opportunity to address another position of need, which feels right now like a bigger issue. Because you can sort of, I hate to say it this way, but you can hide the tight end spot. You can't hide cornerback. And right now, you've got Jarek Bernard-Converse, you've got Mekhi Garner, 2 transfers. Bernard-Converse from Oklahoma State, Garner from ULL. And right now, Jarek Bernard-Converse has a broken bone in his foot. He's out for the rest of spring. Now, they expect him to be healthy for the season, but what this has exposed is you lose one of those 2 guys, you're in trouble. I mean, Greg Brooks, I think they really like at nickel, but they're working him on the outside as well, just in case. A lot of you have asked, hey, might they move Jay Ward back? I don't think so. I think they like Jay Ward at safety. You know, I mean, maybe the bigger question is, with Major Burns out, is someone like Joe Fouché taking Major Burns' role, kind of as a box safety, maybe? I don't know, but it's an option if you want to move Jay Ward. But remember, Jay Ward was a nickel as a freshman. You know, having an outside cornerback right now, it's where you're massively deficient. Now, we could see a scenario where Raydarius Jones, Demarius McGee, LaTerrence Welch, Jordan Allen, where somebody steps up. And we've seen that at LSU. Look, I tell us all the time, it's Greedy Williams. I mean, Greedy Williams redshirted in 2016. Redshirted. 2017, they got the news before the season about Christian Fulton being ineligible. There was an injury, and all of a sudden, Greedy Williams is starting the opener against BYU in the Superdome. Dude gets a pick, and then gets a pick in week 2, and then never left the field, became an All-American. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you got 5-star guys like Elias Ricks who run out there as freshmen, or Derek Stingley who run out there as freshmen, and then sometimes you have injuries, and then Dwight McGlothern's on the field late in the season out of necessity, and he can hang. He's really good. Like, that may happen here as well with one of those guys. May. But that's a big if, and you'd rather not find out if you don't have to. And if you have the opportunity to add somebody at that position that's a transfer that started a bunch of games at the major college level, you would much rather do that. And you might have the opportunity to do that. And if you do add a corner, and an offensive lineman, then you don't have the luxury of adding a tight end because you only got 2 spots. So maybe that's kind of where they are right now. Tight end is thin. I mean, that is a tough spot right now on this roster. But so is cornerback. And it feels like corner is going to be more valuable to add someone if you can than tight end. So Nick Storz is back. Again, I'm not expecting anything. I don't have visions of grandeur for Nick Storz. But if that's a guy that can maybe be an attached tight end, that can be a big body, that can block for you, that can maybe catch some passes, cool. If it's just a guy that has depth in case if you have an injury, fine. But Nick Storz, man, he's like the unicorn, the guy you never see, but you're going to be amazed when you do. We're waiting on it. But Nick Storz, healthy enough apparently, and back with the football time. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.